I'm Carmen, founder of Crew, a community here in Dubai helping entrepreneurs connect with more intention. In this episode, I sit down with Vaishali Shah, the founder of Creative ID, a 25-year-old branding and marketing agency. We're talking pre-Instagram era. She's also the founder of Ananya Cards, a luxury stationery brand. And now she's helping UK brands break into the Dubai market, helping them do it the right way. In this episode, we talk about how brands like Temu were able to get away with ugly branding for so long and yet still be successful. We talk about luxury for branding that goes beyond price tags and what most founders get wrong about branding. Let's jump in. So you were building brands before Instagram even existed. What was branding like back then, and what's actually stayed the same, even with all the changes in social media and digital?
Yes, so branding was quite different then. There was no social media, so it was very much designing for print. So think your glossy brochures, your annual reports, your flyers, your direct mail. It was very much, everything was for print. But what has stayed the same is branding still was about colors, your logo, but really how it makes you feel. I always say branding is very emotive, and those successful brands are those brands that really connect with you, that engage with you and make you feel something. So that has stayed the same. Now what the challenge is to be consistent across all the platforms, including digital. So now you need to think about your website, your social media graphics, your online portfolio. So certain things have stayed the same, but it's very much now thinking about digital as well as print.
I love that. How did you get into branding? I'm curious.
So branding is something that I've always been interested in. I studied international management and French at university, and I specialized in marketing, but I knew that marketing wasn't enough. So I wanted to, after I finished my degree, I wanted to take on another discipline. And so I studied branding. First few years, I did the branding myself. I couldn't afford a team. Now I have a strong team behind me. So I just thought it's important for me. I wanted Creative ID to be something that kind of joins the dots between your branding, your marketing, and your customers to kind of give that holistic perspective. So that's why I kind of added the branding to the marketing.
Right. I feel like for people that aren't in the branding space, or they don't really know what branding is, I mean, you've obviously mentioned it's more than just mood boards or choosing your logos. How does it differ to marketing? Like, how would you define branding?
Yes. So branding is who you are. I'm a branding and marketing expert. And marketing is getting that message out, for example, by doing a podcast. So it's getting yourself seen. And yes, people think that branding is just a logo, it's pretty visuals, it's your mood board. It's not, it's so much more than that. Yes, your logo is important, but really it's about how you communicate to your target audience. Touch point is where your customer or potential customer interact with your brand. So that could be your website, that could be your email signature, that could be your packaging, that could be your uniform, your signage. It's all of those touch points that make a strong brand. So it's so much more than your logo. And that's sometimes a little bit frustrating in the sense of a lot of business people, founders think that it is just your logo, but it's not. It's so much more to give that whole experience, to give that kind of strong, effective relationship.
Right. There is so much more to think about with branding, isn't there? So there are companies like Craigslist, Temu, and Shein. Even in the early years, I remember their branding was not great. It was pretty ugly, but they grew really fast without what I guess you would call great branding. Why do you think they still worked?
I think because they fulfilled a need. There was a demand, often low cost, and that's why they grew so quickly. But what I would say is that branding is about longevity. And so to have a strong brand helps build that longevity, helps build that reputation, that recognition. It turns a transaction into a lasting relationship. And I think once you have that strong, effective branding, you're less worried about the competition. So I'd say that's why, effective branding is important.
That's fascinating. Do you think that there's been any long-term cost to those companies from skipping on good branding right from the start?
I think so. I think it's also branding and marketing. I think that's where they go together because it's about communicating your values and your messaging. And was the messaging strong behind some of these kind of giants, these successful companies? So I think you need to look at both of them hand in hand. And so perhaps some of the long-term damage could be that their messaging wasn't strong enough, or they weren't strong on their brand values. I think that's important to look at the two together.
Right. It seems like that's growing in importance as well, especially with the newer generations. You know, they really look at things like values in businesses.
Very, very much so. Brand values is so important for this current generation, whether it's about your ethos of sustainability, whether it's about where you're procuring your items, the artisans that you're using, the countries that you're sourcing from is really, really important. And I think a strong brand will effectively communicate that and why they've gone with sustainable, why they've gone with handmade and artisanal work rather than mass-made, large production scales. So I think that is particularly important now and will continue to grow.
Right. And I guess when you're working with clients, it sort of highlights those gaps that they may have even. They don't realize that they need things like brand values. Is that right?
Yes. I always, whenever I start working with a client may come in and say, we need a new logo, we're starting up, or we need to refresh our logo. But I always take them back a step. I always want to know, what is their business about? What are their values? If they don't know their values, then I'll work with them to understand their values, to create their brand story. What is it that makes them different? Because in most industries there is competition, but what makes them stand out? I want to bring that out to really kind of make them shine. And so that's important to work with them to translate their values.
Amazing. Now, in a place like Dubai, we know that image is everything. Where do you think most businesses go wrong with their brand here?
I think it's a great question. I think many businesses here think about the flashy visuals. And I think, again, it's about what's the message behind the brand? What is the message behind the business? What is the founder's story? What is the values? And I also think people here, not just generalizing, but I think some businesses also think it's all about Instagram, and it's not all about Instagram. Building a brand is so much more than Instagram. It's all about communicating across your touch points. And again, with my marketing hat on, I'd say it's also looking at your email marketing, looking at what content you're producing, looking at your SEO so that your business is found. It's all of that. It's networking as well, and that's why, organizations like Crew are so good, because it's about putting yourself out there, building relationships, more than just a flashy visual. And I think people want that. I know the word authenticity is used a lot, but I think it is important to have that authentic feel and that authentic engagement with your customer. So I'd say that's where some businesses may be going wrong.
And people can see through it if it's not authentic. They figure it out pretty quickly, right? Like we're savvy as a consumer. Okay, so moving to, you've recently launched a new service where you help UK businesses, mainly from creative and event industries, expand into Dubai. What do you think are the biggest differences between the UK and Dubai, especially when it comes to building a brand or building trust with their customer?
I think relationships is very important here. I'd say it's probably more important here in Dubai. So yes, I've been running my business for 25 years, but it's the connections that I've been introduced to or that I've made, nurturing those relationships. I think that's what's really important. So again, it's your networks that you're in, it's who you're collaborating with. I think that's very important. And I've noticed that particularly in my stationery business, Ananya Cards, where in the events industry, things are very last minute. And I think by having those strong relationships with your planner, with the couple, I think that really helps, because you're asked to turn things around in kind of record speed. But if you've got that relationship, you've got that trust with the client has the trust with you, I think that definitely helps. So I'd say relationships is very important. Also, Dubai is a melting pot of various cultures and influences. So a brand needs to speak to these various cultures, these various faiths. It's very international, Dubai. So I think that's very important. You can't just take a brand from the UK, a very British brand, and put it here. You need to be aware of cultural sensitivities, cultural nuances. That's very important. Also, people think Dubai is very much about luxury, and I would say luxury is on another level here. But what does luxury mean? It's not just the price tag, it's the experience, it's everything that goes with it, it's all the attention to detail. So again, a UK brand moving into Dubai would need to look at that and look at things that are kind of locally relevant, culturally relevant, to be successul here.
Absolutely. There's so many factors to consider, isn't there, that they may not even realize.
Exactly.
That's why they come to you.
Exactly. But that's how I've helped businesses. So there was one event planner that wanted to expand here. And I had to look at her socials, I had to look at her messaging and make sure it worked very well for kind of country UK. But to work here, I had to look at her visuals, had to look at her messaging. I suggested, local shoots to kind of get the local architecture, work with local suppliers to kind of build up her relationships. So there's quite a few things that can be done, and that's what I try and help those businesses moving here so that they are successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they need to actually physically relocate here to do business?
I don't know if you have to physically relocate, but you definitely need to have a presence here. I've had inquiries from wedding brands saying we see what you're doing, Vaishali, we want to do the same. And I was like, okay, so when are you planning to come to Dubai? Oh, we haven't got any trips planned. And I was like, but you know what? I'm not going to introduce you to people. You need to show that you are committed to this area and to this region, and then people will respect you and will welcome you. But if you just want to, because Dubai, the Middle East looks all exciting, and you just want a piece of that, but actually you're not making that commitment, then you're not going to be successful. So you may not move here, but you definitely need to have a local presence, be regularly here, attend the networking events, all the suggestions that I kind of would give. You need to kind of act on that and not just be kind of UK centric.
You need to earn our respect.
Correct, because you know what? Otherwise, there's a potential backlash between the local suppliers that have been working very hard and doing some great things, and then there's a kind of influx from the UK. I feel that also is sensitive, has to be managed well, and you need to kind of be a team player and kind of integrate yourself into the industry here and be part of it.
I love that. And I mean, I want to now move to something that I think is incredible that you're doing. You're really giving back in meaningful ways, and you're donating £15,000 worth of branding and marketing support to charities. You're planting hundreds of trees. You're making impact part of your business. I'd love to know, when in your business journey did that actually feel like it was financially possible?
Thank you. So for me, from day one, I wanted to give back. So that's part of my DNA. It's part of the business's DNA. So before I had a profit, any profit for me was not on the financials. It was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to give back. What's changed is the scale of giving back. As the business grew, as I became more successful, then I could add more initiatives like doing pro bono work, not just for charities, but also people that work within charities. So I mentor various individuals in charities. I'm planting the trees. So I'm giving back more. But I always pledged from day one to donate 10% of profits to charity. And I think for me, I've grown up with it. So as a family, we've created over 100 schools, hospitals, orphanages, various charitable initiatives. So for me, I was brought up with that. It was what we discussed at the breakfast table. 25 years ago, I didn't know what CSR, corporate social responsibility, was. I just knew that if I could make a difference, then I would like to do that.
Gosh, that gives me goosebumps. I mean, I feel like that should be part of it's being in business is hard, and if a founder can have a higher calling and have a true purpose that's beyond just making money, I think that they're generally going to be more successful, right? Because it's going to push them. There's so many challenges that are faced, but if you're giving back to people and doing something meaningful, I think that's just so wonderful. And I love that you've been able to incorporate those values from day one, because I know that there's a lot of founders that they would love to, but they're just trying to figure out how do you do that financially? And you've made that happen, starting small, and then over time you've been able to scale up that the charitable giving. So I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. Yes, it's integral. It's not an afterthought. So,
I
yes.
love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has
Thank
been
you.
wonderful.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.